Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April Longmont Amateur Radio Club General Meeting. Appreciate everybody for attending. A couple of notes before we get started. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's on the meeting tonight that participated in LARC Fest and helped. Great job. I'm proud of everybody that helped and stepped and made it a very successful event. We had probably not the turnout that I really expected, but we had a great turnout. It was steady. And I think people had a good time. Had a couple of comments here and there of complaints, but you're going to get that at any event, unfortunately. So, but, really want to say a special thank you to Bob, who's on this evening, who co-chaired and basically ran the thing, most of it. Dick who was supposed to run it, ran it with him. But Bob, I know, did a lot of hard work to get it going, and we appreciate the hard work and the work he's doing on field day as well. So he's really working hard for the club and doing some stuff. If you didn't see my email and you're interested in making sure our events run smoothly, or more smoothly each time we run them, I should say, Bob is putting together a committee to put APIs together from the ICS forms so that we can have everything standardized. So we can run an event. We'll know what happens in an emergency, like we had at LARC Fest this time. Luckily, the paramedics were already there, which was a big plus. If you're interested in learning more about ICS forms, putting them together, making them make sense so they can be followed in the future for other events, contact Bob, and be more than happy to get you onto the committee to help out with that and get that started. And we're planning on doing one for everything the club does, from LARC Fest to fox hunts to parades. That way is documented, ready to go, and we'll just tweak them as we need to go along to make sure they work for each event. So I know a lot of other clubs around the country are starting to do this as well as part of their e-coms, and it's good practice, good exercise. And if you're interested in helping out, I know Bob would appreciate the help.
It's going to make a big difference for the club.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean,
we can't have single points of failure. We can't have one guy walking around with everything in his head. So
yeah, exactly.
We could improve a lot of things. Sorry for just jumping in, but we could do a lot of things with simple checklists. But if you're familiar with the incident action plans, they are elaborate checklists that force you to think about the big what ifs. And we have some good resources. Ramon Sinha is very conversant in the ICS forms, and turns out that Steve Fankhauser's wife is the Boulder emergency coordinator. So I've got a qualified proofreader there. So far, we've found 3 programs, one in Excel, one in Word, and one online for assembling these reports to where you really can't miss a form. And then when you're all done, it prints out one contiguous PDF document. So I just need somebody to sit down with me, and let's get together here, hopefully in the next week or two, go over the comments that we got from attendees and start getting some of this stuff, start planning how to do it better next year, start documenting. And like Chuck was saying, we want one for field day, winter field day, LARC Fest, fox hunts, parades, Christmas parties, and just general events. And then, we'll put them on the Google Drive. And if you want to help with next year's field day, we'll just get in the Google Drive and download the document, and everybody updates it for the current year. And I think it's going to save us a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and again, avoid those single points of failure. So please call me and let's sign up. You'll see an email from me and or Chuck in the next week or so, probably the next few days, and see if we can't get a list of people. So
you've already got my information, Bob, so I'll be in touch with you.
Very good.
Bob,
thank you, Dave.
This is Jay. I just went through the ICS 700 course, the FEMA online course. I'm also a part of the Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. So I'd be interested in helping out with this.
Yep. I haven't taken
it.
Yeah. I haven't taken 700 or 800 yet, but those are next on my list.
Yeah, interesting course. I mean, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've done the
I
one.
just did it. I was going to say I just updated the 700 too. Have you, Jay? Have you looked at the IS 66?
A little bit. I'm still digging into a lot of it. It's still sort of
It's
new,
short.
but
It's 2 hours, and it's fascinating.
yeah.
IS
Okay.
66 is preparing a nation for space weather related events.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done.
That's okay. That's on my hit list too. I got the 100, 200, 700, 800 done. So I'm almost this close to being for our Aries group a level 4. So, but I'm still deployable either way. So,
Yeah.
which is good. But thank you everybody for jumping in and helping out, and thank you again for LARCFest. 27th of May is the W1AW Colorado region for the I guess for VODA volunteers on the air. Doug Sharp, K2AD out of Firestone, has invited the club over to his place. If you want to get on HF and play with some of the arm ham equipment that they have, and also play with our Go Box, because he'll probably have that as well. I'm not carrying out to Mississippi with me. So come out. I sent an email out, or get a hold of me, and I'll get you his contact information, and let Doug know if you're interested in coming out or not, because he's got the invite. I think he's going to have one of the arm ham vans with one of the telescopic masks up.
Okay.
Couple of radios, different bands, digital, pretty much whatever we want to do. It's going to be open, and he wants to see people come out and enjoy. So he likes doing that kind of stuff because he's a politician. But as another reminder, we have a testing session this Saturday here at the Clover Building. So if you know somebody wants to get their license or wants to upgrade their ticket, come on out. It's an ARRL session, so it is $15, but we'll get you tested and get you on your way and get your ticket up. The first or the second Saturday in May is our tentative antenna building class. We're going to have 2 of them. One of them is going to be, we're going to be building a couple of dipoles for the club for field day. And then the second one is going to be a VHF tape measure Yagi building class. Here's the reason why I'm doing this. Now that's going to cost you $10 for parts and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of people have done it already, and they tell me I do a decent job, so that's why I'm doing it again. I don't know. Did I do it, dude? Yeah. So, and then the 4th weekend, the 27th, which is going to be a busy day, we have a testing session in the morning with the Laurel VE group. And then in the after that, between 9 and 1 is going to be a fox hunt out here in Longmont at Golden Pond Park on the west side of town here. So come out, get your antenna built. 2 weeks later, go see if you can find the fox. After you find the fox, drive out to Firestone and get on the air and start talking around the world on HF. You get a little bit of everything that day. UHF, VHF, HF. Should be a fun and joyful day. I don't think I've got anything else right now I can think of. Mike, since you're the co-chair, you got anything that you'd like to bring up to the club this evening?
No, it's just nice to see everyone. I've been so busy with work and stuff. I haven't been as active as I'd like to be, but hopefully that will change right after May 1st. So,
hey, you're here with us tonight. We appreciate that. So, Pat, what about you, sir?
I'm good.
Right.
We're just having fun. I agree with Bob on the ICS program. I've taken ICS 100 and 200, and I got 700 and 800 to go to become my next level of CERT certification. It's good stuff for sure. And if we get in the habit of using it, it's going to be pretty simple.
Yeah, I got to get in the habit myself. Steve, K0STE, you got anything for us this evening?
Nope, nothing tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, board members, for joining this evening. I appreciate it. Anybody really quick got anything before we get started with our presentation this evening?
Hey, Chuck, I'll just mention, you mentioned K2AD. If you recall, I said I participated with RN Ham at their last 2 or 3 field day. Doug is my CW partner. And we operate in the van that he's going to have in Firestone. It is something to behold. RM Ham, they have about 3 of those, and this one is their newest one, and it is a fantastic vehicle. They completely gutted it. They refurbished it. I guess they got it from one of the local television stations, but it is something to behold. It's really a neat operating platform.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got a chance to see. Well, I think he's got to have the newer one. I think they actually have 4 now. I think they're renovating another one, and he's supposed to call me and let me know when I can help renovate it, because I want to put my blood, sweat, and tears into it so I can check it out on occasions and use it myself. So for the club, and that's what's going to cost our club, is me to and people to jump in and help with that. So I'm working with Doug on that. Anybody got anything else I'd like to bring up before we get started? All right, everyone. Let's welcome Mark, WC3W. It's all yours, sir.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to bring up my presentation here real quick. Tell me if you can see it.
We see it.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Because I had a little issue with my headset last time, or am I okay?
We can hear
fine.
you. Yeah,
You're
we can
fine.
hear you now. A couple of times you kind of faded out a little bit. It was still audible, and we can read you, but it got a little bit light. But
All right, stop me at any time if that happens, and I'll just get rid of this headset, and I'll just use the microphone in my MacBook Pro here. But so, okay. Well, listen, first of all, Chuck, and I'd really like to express my appreciation for the invite to your club. And it's, I mentioned earlier before some of you got on that I've done about coming up on 40 of these since the beginning of the year. I reached out to the section managers, and they've been very, very supportive of setting me up with clubs within their jurisdiction. I know Amanda Alden, your section manager, very well, because she's an RM Hams, and she's been at the field day operation, save last year when she had COVID. She would normally be there, but she's a real hoot if you haven't met her. She's a lot of fun, and just a wonderful person. So anyway, just real briefly before I get started, a little background on myself. Again, you might not have heard my earlier discussion. I live about 5 to almost 6 months a year in the state of Colorado. My wife went to CU. My son lives in Denver, and my wife has many relatives throughout the state. And we have a place up in Grand Lake, about 3 miles from the western portal of Rocky Mountain National Park, right along Route 34 there. And I have an HF station up there. I have a UHF repeater 449.425 with a PL of 103.5. It's also on the All-Star system. You're all welcome to use it if you ever get up in that area. This year, a little bit uncertain as to our schedule. We're normally up there by June 1st, and we don't come home till about October 15th. But my wife has got some, similar to Chuck, she's got some real serious back issues, and we're going in next week, and that'll kind of determine whether she goes. I'm definitely going to go for a few months, a couple months anyway, but whether she can make it or not, she's in quite a bit of pain right now. So we're just going to do a lot of praying and hope for the best with that outcome. I've been a ham this year 60 years. I was 13 years old when I got my ticket. I was dating this young girl in grade school, and I grew up in Peoria, Illinois. By the way, I'm my other home when I'm not in Colorado is in South Florida. I'm in Palm Beach County, just a little north of West Palm Beach in Jupiter, Florida. I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, and how I got in the hobby is I went over to this young lady's house and met her dad, who was an engineer at Caterpillar Tractor Company and also a ham radio operator. And he took me downstairs and he showed me his station, and hook, line, and sinker. It just blew me away. I was fascinated. He got on the air and started working DX. And as a result of that experience, 2 things happened. One, I immediately began studying for my novice. And two, as I got into the hobby, I determined my career. I said, I'm going to be an electrical engineer because I just love this stuff. So I didn't have any uncertainty when I went to college, and I just retired 4 years ago. But I was in executive management, so I wasn't doing any engineering. But I've done a lot of things in my life. I've had a private instrument and commercial pilot's license. I've flown for almost 50 years. I've glidered. I ride motorcycles. I got 2 motorcycles in Colorado, 1 down here. I'm a musician. But you know what? I've had a lot of hobbies in my life, but one that has stuck with me and I've been so loyal to is this hobby right here, is ham radio. It's been wonderful. And I retired 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and I'm involved in it every single day. Which includes this current responsibility, and I'll get into that in a second. So that's enough on me. Let me get into the presentation. And as I said earlier, there's 800,000 hams in the U.S. and probably total worldwide. Maybe I've heard different numbers, maybe 2 million, 2.5 million. But I don't know the exact number, but I would guess that a very significant percentage of those licensed ham radio operators throughout the world in some way participate in DX, either contesting or just for fun, or whatever reason. It is sort of been the cornerstone of the hobby for many, many, many years. And when I got into this DX Marathon program, I did it not because I needed to work more DX entities or I needed more plaques or more certificates. I kind of did everything. But when I got into understanding what the program was, it reinvigorated me to DXing. So what I'm about to tell you tonight, and I would like you, I'm going to touch this at the 30,000 foot level. It's going to be about 30 minutes, but I just like you to think about one thing as I'm going through this. If this program isn't for you, at the end of the program, I want you to tell me why it's not for me or not for you. Because if you've got a radio, if you got an antenna, if you got a license, I think everybody can have a lot of fun with the DX Marathon program. It's a very simple program, and I'm going to reemphasize that over and over and over tonight. It's not like a contest where you got multipliers and everything else. It's very, very simple. I call it stress-free DXing. So let me just jump ahead here. And okay, what is the DX Marathon program? What is it? Before I explain what it is, let me tell you what it really is. It is the fastest growing ham radio DX program in the world today. Now, why do I say that? Well, between calendar year 20 and 21, it grew at about 15% rate as measured by the number of participants, the number of submissions, okay? Between 21 and 22, it grew at 46%. That means there were 46 more ham radio operators that participated in the program in 22 than in 21. That's why I say it's the fastest growing program in ham radio today. Okay, what is the program? These are just the cornerstones. It is an annual program. The time starts on January 1st and it ends on December 31st. And between those dates, you just get on the radio and you work DX and you accumulate the number of country entities, DXCC entities. There's 340 of those, if you're familiar with the DXCC countries, and then we add a few, which I'll explain in a second, and the CQ zones, and there's 40 CQ zones. You get 1 point for every entity that you work, okay? The one beauty, so if there are 340, actually for us, there's 346 DXCC entities plus 40 CQ zones. That means there's a total possible score of 386 points, which no one will ever get because included in the DXCC combination are a lot of activations. And as we know, many activations like Crozet or Bouvet, sometimes it's 10 years before they're activated. So the scores at the end of the year, the winning scores, and I'm going to explain this too. I call this a program, not a contest, but there is some folks that like to compete. So we offer some plaques and certificates, but the scores that are at the top in the various tranches, the categories, generally are between 275 and 300, just to give you an idea. The one big advantage, remember I said simple, 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 there's no confirmations required, no QSLs required, no logbook of the world, no LOTWs, no EQSLs. You just work them and you log them and then you submit them at the end of the year. And I'll explain a little bit that we do to kind of keep people honest there. But the beauty of this is there's no hassle. You just work them, you log them, you tabulate your logs, and you send it in at the end of the year. It's an excellent excuse to get on the air. It's not high pressure. I used to be a big contester, but in my job at work, I was in a very competitive and a pretty intense environment. And in my retirement, I'm really trying hard to enjoy serenity. And so I'm not as much a contester as I used to be, but if you're a contester, you can still use what you book on the contest as part of this program. And I'll explain that in a little bit too. If you go on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks, no problem. You come back, you turn on your radios, and you start working DX. So it's much lower key than a contest or some of the other programs that are out there. The third element or fourth element here, I said that it was not a contest, it's a program. I did this for 6 years. I didn't need any plaques or certificates. The reason I did it is I worked for a guy many years ago. He said, Mark, he said, if you can't measure it, it ain't worth doing. Well, I like to measure my production of DX from year to year. And I started 7 years ago. And, every year I've got a little bit better. And to me, that tells me I'm operating more. I've improved my station, which I have. I've got better antennas than I used to have. My operating skills are a little bit better. So it gives me a metric on how I am personally doing. A lot of people that participate in this program do it just for that. They don't want the stress. They don't want the heavy competition. It's very simple. So they just do it as a metric and see what I've done this year. The rules, I won't go through all the rules, but they're very, very simple. And it is a global event. We have about 30% of the participants in North America and about 70% international. Okay, a real brief history. Believe it or not, this program has been around a long time. It started back in 1939 with CQ Magazine's predecessor. That was called Radio Magazine. They introduced the program. It lasted a year, and boom, along came World War II, and the program went away for 8 years. They reconstituted it in 1948. It went for a year. I don't know what happened, but at that same year, 1949, the CQ Worldwide came out, the DXCC came out. I don't know if they lost administrators or lost interest, but it died. It died until 2005 when this famous gentleman here, Bob Loker, W9KNI, who lived in Chicago at that time, now lives in the state of Washington. He approached CQ Magazine. He says, hey, I used to remember the 2000 or the CQ DX Marathon. How about if we rejuvenate it? And they said, well, have at it, Bob. So Bob basically sat down and he put the rules together and presented it to CQ, and they said, okay, we're ready to go. Bob was no dummy. He understood that it took a lot of effort to administer the program. So he recruited young John Sweeney, K9EL, out of Chicago, and John has been the program administrator for 17 consecutive years. He's my hero. He's my hero. I knew him through a mutual friend of mine down here in Florida who co-founded the Northern Illinois DX Association. And I had met John a number of times. So when I heard John was sort of retiring, I called him up. I was kind of looking for something to do in my retirement. Well, I spent about 30 minutes on the phone with him, and I said, "Oh my God, John," I said, "I'm trying to bring serenity into my life. This is like, I just don't think I can handle this, So I got to thinking about it, and a couple weeks later, I called him. I said, "John, look, I did a bunch of things in my business career. I built some companies, and I said, how about if we put together an organization and of volunteers, and we split up the tasks and responsibilities that you were doing all yourself." And so, make a long story short, what I did is we wrote job descriptions. We went out and we put together an organization. And today I've got a board of directors. These are all volunteers. All these people are people that have been in the program for more than 10 years, so they're very familiar with it. I kept Bob. I'm no dummy either. I kept Bob on as a board emeritus and John Sweeney on for consultation. But the real heart and soul of the program are the people on this slide here. These are what I call my operating managers. From the job descriptions, I said I need a scoring manager, I need an IT manager, I need a communications, rules and compliance, and a WARDA manager. These people, plus myself, are 6 people that are now doing the work of one John Sweeney. So, and we're 6 months ahead of schedule. And I'm just thrilled with this organization. Then I did one other thing, because this is an international program. I jumped ahead. I put an advisory board just to bounce things on. I'm thinking about doing some different rule changes in 2024. I want to make sure that it'll play all over the world. So these are just advisors that I can send emails to. They were also longtime participants in the program. Okay, let's get down to the program now. Why participate? Okay, why is this for you? Well, as I said earlier, for most of us, not to poo-poo ARIES and emergency services and all the things that you guys were talking about, they're very important elements of the hobby, but some element of most ham radio operators is or has been in DXing, okay? So that's one of the reasons why it makes sense. It challenges us to work the X every year. It's simple. There's no multipliers. It provides an extra incentive to become active. And lastly, Chuck, what I found out is we had 134 clubs that submitted club scores last year in the 2022 program. And it's ideal for clubs. It's fun. You can, if you have a club that's large enough, you can tranche it down. You can have some little internal competition. You can award prizes at your annual banquet or your Christmas. It's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to do. And it's simple. It's simple. Okay, how does it work? As I said, it starts January 1st. It ends December 31st. You go out and most of us have electronic logging programs. I happen to use AA6YQ, Dave's DX Labs DX program, which is phenomenal. I'll never use anything else, but there's others out there. So you just log your DXs, and you get 1 point for every DXCC entity and 1 point for every zone. These programs, Dave's at least, DX Labs, Dave is an active participator in this program, so he has incorporated a lot of real nice features in his DX Keeper that can be used as part of this program. The 340 entities, we add 6 entities which are considered the Work All Europe entities. You can see them there: Shetland Islands, Sicily, Italian Africa, TA1 Turkey. The northwestern part of Turkey is European Turkey, TA1. Everything outside of that, down to the south and the east, is Asiatic Turkey, TA2 through TA9. So TA1 is we consider an individual entity. ITU in Vienna, Austria, and Bear Island. So there's your 346 plus your 40 DXCC or your 40 zones. Okay. Frequency is pretty obvious. A ham radio frequency, all from 2 meters to 160, including the work bands. So it's not like a contest where you can't use 12 and 17. You can use work bands here. You can't make contacts through repeaters or satellites. No contacts with maritime mobile. No contacts with aeronautical mobile. And all contacts must be made entirely over amateur radio or HF frequencies. There's no echo link or DMR contacts are allowed. That's all pretty obvious. Okay, I'm going to show you 2 slides here, which really is the heart and core of the program and why I say this program is for everybody. Okay. First of all, we have divided the participation into 4 classes. And I would argue all 18 of you, or however many we have, can probably fit yourself in one of these classes. I'm very fortunate. I've been blessed with property, not here, but on a remote site. I have a big station, and I know a lot of people have big stations, but I would argue that in our ham community, if you put everybody under the bell-shaped curve, we're probably in the 1 sigma area. Most hams don't have the kind of stations that the big contesters do, or maybe I have, okay? Most of them are in the middle, and that's where we work down the list. And that's why I say no matter what you have, it's going to work. So the next step down is what we call the limited. 100 watts, no linear amplifiers. You can have an array antenna, a Yagi, okay, with certain restrictions. Then we go down into the next tranche, which I think a lot of people are in, 100 watts, simple antennas, either a long wire dipole or a vertical. That's it, okay? And when you enter the program, you will then be compared in your score with everybody around the world that is in that same area. So you'll kind of get a relative feel for how you are doing. Then we don't ignore the QRP people. We have a QRP, and believe it or not, we have probably 50 people in the program that enter every year in QRP. I've seen a lot of it. Okay, that gives you a highlight. Now the next slide, just fold this one on top of everything I said about why I think it's for everybody. You know, I'm an old fuddy-duddy, but I happen to believe that innovation in our hobby has been with us ever since 60 years ago, and it will continue to be with us. Some old fogies like me, but not like me, don't like FT8. You know, they say that's not ham radio. Well, it is ham radio, and it has given a lot of people an opportunity with less stations to enjoy DXing. Okay. But if, let's say you don't like FT8, I have a dear friend across town here, the one I mentioned earlier. He doesn't operate FT8. He's 85 years old. He operates CW and a little bit of sideband, mainly CW. In 2019, he entered this program in the CW all bands, unlimited competition. He won number 1 in the world. He scored 319 points. So if you're a CW operator or if you're a CW and phone operator, you can enter the contest. If you're a digital operator only, you can enter it in the digital class. So it's your choice. Now, we also go down to bands. You can enter all bands, or if you really have a particular liking to 60 meters or 160 meters or 6 meters or 20 meters or 12 or 15, you can enter on one band only and see how you do. We have many, many participants that are one band participants. Bob Loker, for example, the guy that reconstituted, he loves 40 meters. He won the 40 meter worldwide last year. That's all he competed on. And again, I mentioned it's wonderful for clubs. So those 2 slides really are the heart and core of why I believe anybody that has a radio, that has a license, that has an antenna can participate. Okay. Busy slide. I'm just going to point out 2 things. One, that first bullet says use single TXRX site. I'm going to use me as an example because it pretty much says everything. I have a remote station down here in Florida. I have an HF station in Colorado. I can't take the combination of both of those stations because it's not a single TXRX site and add them together and put one submission in. I can put a submission in for Florida and put a submission in for Colorado. I may choose Colorado as a single band. I may choose this one as all band and unlimited, okay? So that kind of explains what bullet number one. The key is one transmitter, one receiver, generally one operator, but if you have a contest from your station and you have 3 or 4 operators in there and you're using that same call, you can use any new entity that anybody worked tied to your call to submit towards the DX Marathon credit, okay? One transmitter, one receiver. The other thing I want to point out here is we just re-engineered, we redid the website. It's noteworthy to go check it out, www.dxmarathon.com. I'll give you a quick glimpse of what it looks like. It was a real old website that John put together. This has more information on it. It has, it has calls, all the current calls in Antarctica. There's about 50 calls in Antarctica, believe it or not. It shows you the Turkey division that I mentioned earlier. It's got pirate calls in here. It's got bad spots in here. We update this all the time. So even if you're not in this contest, it's a tremendous resource that you can use if you're working DX. Okay, again, a lot of detail that I'm not going to go through here. I'm just going to, again, from the 30,000 foot level, you work DX, you put it in your program. At the end of the year, you generate an ADIF file. If you're not familiar with that, I can go offline and explain that, or somebody in your club will explain it. It basically takes all your queues for 2023. It puts it in an ADIF format. You take that ADIF format and you translate that into this submission form. And we have a couple tools that are very, very simple to use. One of those tools actually was designed. Oops, I got ahead of myself. One of those tools was designed by AD1C. Have anybody heard of that call? That's Jim in Brighton, Colorado. Jim AD1C he does the country files for a number of for WSJTX. He does it for DX for Win. He does it for N1MM. John K9EL told me that it is the best DX database in the world, without question, today. And just a footnote on that you might find interesting. Dave and I've designated through my DX lab program to use QRZ as my data source. Well, listen, QRZ has about a 1% error rate in prefixes and zones. And why? Because the operator has to put the zone and ITU zones in, okay? And operators make mistakes. Some operators, believe it or not, don't know what CQ zone they're in. So if you happen to work one of those and you're using the QRZ as the database and it puts the wrong zone in for a call, you won't get credit for that. That's a penalty. And a penalty, you don't get thrown out of the program. It's a -1 point if you have a wrong zone. I went through my log. I had 35,000 log entities in my DX Keeper log. I found a 1% error rate in zone and prefixes resulting from QRZ. So I put it through Jim's database, 81C in DX for Win. I actually bought it. And I literally corrected 3,000 queues. It was almost 1% because I don't like mistakes. I wanted to be accurate. So anyway, I've been through this. Let me just highlight verification. I mentioned no QSLs, no LOTW confirmations. 99.9% of all the participants are honest and they report fairly. We do find sometimes people take advantage, okay? So in respect to those people who play fairly, we do some checks, okay? We have a scoring tool that was developed many years ago that we have enhanced, where we can go to Club Log, for example. We can go, it's all done automatically. We can go in, we can put the call in, the submitted calls in, and we can do some verification. And we do that. I've got logs from the expeditions, okay, that they send me. I just email them and they say, hey, I'm administrator of the program. Would you mind sending me your ADIF files? We can load those in. Bingo. If you claim you had a queue with them, it ought to be in his log. So we do, for about a month and a half, we do some purification just to make sure everything is good. And that's it. And that's it. For those, we believe very much in recognition, and for those that have done a tremendous job, and I'm not going to go through these details, we have these beautiful plaques that we issue for each of the class winners, for each of the band winners. We have certificates, very nice certificates for many other, 120 of those recognizing. I added a youth program last year. They're going to get a plaque. So, I mean, I'm not going to go, all these are on the webpage if you're interested. These are just some of the wall plaques. The top CW phone and digital scores worldwide, the top band scores 6 through 160. Each continent has a winner. The top European CW score, the top North American CW score. It goes on and on and on. And same way with the certificates, okay? We are a volunteer organization. There's no sign up that's required. You are not too late to participate in 2023 CQ DX Marathon program right now. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to send an email. Just start keeping track of your DX contacts, which you have secured from January 1st to December 31st. Everybody's a volunteer. Our incidental costs are paid for by very gracious volunteers, mainly clubs, but we have individuals that also. A sponsorship is $100. It basically pays for the plaque and it pays for transportation to the winner. That's it. So, Chuck, if at some point in time you're interested, right now I'm good for 2023. I've got some things that we're looking at for 2024. If you're so inclined, your name goes on the plaque. You go into CQ magazine. By the way, the results are published in the June issue of CQ magazine. Every single participant score, all the various classification winners. It's a very nice, I just finished the article. I had to be in by April the 1st. Everything is done there. It's very nicely done. But your name, your club names as a sponsor, all of our sponsors are in there. So you get a little publicity as well. The only other thing I can say is we do have incidental costs. John K9EL was a retired CEO. He's pretty well off. He threw a lot of his own personal money in there, and that's fine. And but I've actually put on our website a PayPal click, and if you're so inclined, throw $5 in there or $10. I'm thinking, it'll give us a little working capital and also to do some of the things I have a vision of and doing for 2024. So it's real simple. Just click on it, $5. That would be a wonderful thing. Real quick, as we know, cycle 24 was horrible. Cycle 25 is a thing of beauty. The beauty about this program is that no matter where the solar flux is, everybody kind of has a levelizer, which is called the solar cycle. So our participation doesn't sway up and down a lot, save for what happened, and it's behind my picture here. That little red dot at the top was the 46% growth in 2022 over 2021 that I mentioned. And that was cycle 25. Most of you seen this curve. This is the forecast. It's come in like a lion. It's been a beautiful thing so far. The SFI numbers are out of sight. And the beauty about all this, gents, is that we got this good DXing environment for the next at least, 5 or 6 years. So we got a lot of good DXing. So if you're thinking about, Chuck mentioned earlier, I'm thinking about getting back in, now's the time to do it because things are really going to be hopping in the next few years. Okay, as you might imagine, we get a pretty widespread. You can see what FT8 impact has been on DXing. It's been huge. About 70% of our 2022 queues of 220,000 queues submitted by around almost 1,200 submissions were in digital, about 70%, and the CW and the phone were about the same. Busy slide, but this is 21 figures. We had 144,000 queues representing 807 logs. Those are participants. The red is what happened in 22 with the 46% increase. And I think we're going to have a big year this year. And my vision is to double or triple the program, double or triple it in the next 2 years, which is why I'm kind of on the Zoom meetings here and trying to spread the word, because I'm finding there's so many operators that are not even aware of this program. There is a lot out there. We have our error rate has been going down. We highly recommend, you've worked hard to get these DX entities. We recommend check your logs before you submit them. You worked hard to work that DX entity. Just check it. Make sure the zone's right. Do a couple checks. Make sure you have, one of the big mistakes, putting an O in for a 0. That's done a lot. Our software program will pick that up. So anyway, we have this club score in 2022. Believe it or not, this was an all-time record by 2x. We had 134 clubs submit this year. So I'd like to see that number double in the next couple of years as well. Busy slide. Basically, this is Jim's program. You take your ADIF file, you blip it through his program, which is available, and it generates your submission form. At the end of the year, you upload the submission into our website directly, and you're finished. You walk away. It's literally a 15-minute operation. Very, very simple. Sebastian, our IT manager, has developed a web-based tool. This basically does the same thing Jim's tool. This is actually my score in 2022, or number of queues. This is like the spreadsheet. It has 346 entities, rows with 40 CQ zones, and it gives you a lot of information. It gives you the number. It does tell you whether you had an LOTW confirmation. If you have a choice, if you got a rare one, and if you got confirmation for one and you don't have it for another, use the one you got a confirmation on. You'll be locked in that way, just for your own self-protection. Then after you check everything here, you go up to generate submission, you hit that, boom, out is the submission form, and you upload it right into our website. I'm going to move along here because I'm getting a little bit long. Let me just, we do also have a chat, a group IO page. Just search for DX Marathon. I've doubled the participation in that. It's still too low. I only got about 250, 300 people. I would like to see that grow because there's some great discussions among participants in that as well. And again, we're so grateful to all of our supporters. I acknowledge them, and I got three new. I generated a youth plaque this year. I had a club step up, a 2-meter plaque, and a 160 plaque. Boom, boom, boom. I got them within about 2 weeks. So we're looking for ways to grow it in 2024. We're looking at a decathlon, maybe looking at a 5-year running total, doing a half marathon, maybe just run it from January to June, July to December. We're just thinking out of the box. I'm looking at possibly putting a YL category in. I've had ups and downs on that. I had a YL tell me, why do you want a YL? Don't you think we can compete with the big guns? So I guess you can't satisfy 100% of the people 100% of the time. Gentlemen, that's it. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to open it up for questions. And thank you so much.
Hey, Mark, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
This is David here from Longmont.
Yeah.
You mentioned all modes except for DMR and Echolink, which is fine. I actually have DMR radios that I'm pretty much stopping the use of. What about the use of Wires X or D-Star?
No.
You can't use those?
I got to add that to my slide. No. No. Any digital mode. Let's put it this way. HF. I mean, wireless, real HF. That's what we're talking here. Yep.
No internet.
No internet. Yeah. And I have DMR. I got DMR right here. I got Skybridge right here. I've had fun with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying it doesn't work for this program. Okay. Maybe somebody ought to invent one for DMR, because I hear DMR. I get on Worldwide and I hear people putting them in logs and putting them on QRZ and everything else. Maybe somebody ought to do that, but that's not for this program.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, and I know David asked that question because there's some of us, well, unlike me, I just asked for forgiveness instead of permission, that have restrictions on antennas and things like that. I know we've had a couple of folks that are fighting antenna problems, live in apartments and things like that. I know there are some remote stations out there. Some of them do charge by the minute, hour, things like that. So it can be costly. And I know that's why David kind of asked that question. For stuff like that, David, maybe as a club, we'll think about it. Maybe we can have a weekend event or something where we can see if we can make a bunch of QSOs and we can actually do it as a club event and get our Go Box, our antennas up and go do it in somebody's house or a park or something like that and run it to get some points and get the club listed on the marathon. Even if we're in the bottom of the list, at least we're on the list. Right. And we're participating.
Chuck, that's a great point. To my earlier point, if you would designate a station, this is the key though, you couldn't have two club members operate two stations. But if you designated one station and then have club members come in from time to time and operate, even during contests or whatever, you can do exactly what you said.
Yeah. And our club's fortunate. A couple of years back, one of our club members built a Go Box for us. So we have an ICOM 7300 and a Kenwood D710GA in our portable Go Box. And since we can't put in our storage shed because it's not temperature controlled, it sits at my house. And currently it's attached to a long wire that I'm playing with remote software. So if we can pull that off, that's another possibility of getting on the air and doing it under our call sign. As long as we use now, when you say station, so it has to be just that 7300 because the club actually owns 3 transceivers. We have 3 different icons. So, but when you say a single, you're talking just one unit, right? It has to be like the 7300.
Okay. You didn't hear this from me. Theoretically, yes, but we have no way to tell. We have no way to tell. We have no way. If you're using a 70, I mean, there's no way. What is really important in my mind is a single physical location. We don't want people operating at multiple, from Colorado going up on the top of a mountain and operating and going in another place, next state over, Wyoming, whatever. That's what we got to discourage. As long as it's one physical location and you restrict, if you're in the 100 watt level, you restrict it 100 watt. If you got a 7300 in there or whatever, that's not a big deal. Okay. That's not a big deal.
Oh, and our club loves the 7300 because the other icons are a little bit older. So everybody loves the waterfall and all that. And it's a great unit. And I know a lot of people just love that.
I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's on my birthday and Christmas list. So everybody loves it. So, okay. Because that's one thing I've been looking at is, the club doesn't have a clubhouse like some places do. So I'm doing some testing and things like that. And we may have a remote station at some point for club members to use. And we just have to use our call sign for it. And that's how we'll log it. And that's how we can do it that way. So David, we're looking at ideas. So
okay.
Don't fret, my good man. We'll figure if we can figure out a way.
Okay.
That's a great idea, Chuck. Yeah. It really is.
Yep.
Anybody got any other questions? I mean, this is a great presentation, Mark.
Thank you.
I might go home and have to turn on my my Kenwood and or my Yaesu and start tracking stuff more often. I'm playing with 3 different HF radios at home, but it's all on the same long wire, so I'm good to go there.
You're good to go. You're good to go. It's remarkable with FT8 and a long wire what you can do today. It really is, with the propagation being what it is in cycle 25. it's a ball. I mean,
I hit Spain the other day, France. So yeah, propagation is great right now. So it's time to get on.
Especially with cycle 25, 10, 12, 15 meters. We had four times the queues submitted in 2022 versus 2021 in those bands. That's all cycle 25. That's all propagation.
I did Cuba a couple of months ago on 15 meters.
Oh yeah.
I was floored. I couldn't believe the guy, and gave me a 5.8 report. I'm like, what? And I was only pushing 60 watts.
You'll really be surprised. You'll really be surprised.
So,
and as I said, the good news is it's going to be like this for a number of years.
Yeah.
This is the time to jump into the DX.
It's also the time for QRP. So if you're big into QRP, this is the best time to get in right now.
I'm hearing more and more people QRPing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to win one of our grand prizes at the Hamfest this year. And I went out and bought me a Zygu X90 QRP radio. So I've been playing with it, and haven't done any DXing yet. It's all been in the States, but still it's something fun to do and play with out in the parks when I go do POTA. So
you bet.
All right, anybody got any questions, comments? I'm excited. I can't find a reason not to go do it. I mean, I've already made some DXs this year at home. I could pull out of my log and submit them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you have any problem, I know I had to, there's only so much I can do in a half hour, but I personally did about 15 logs for people. Give me the ADIF file. I'll do your submission for you. I got 5 other guys too that know how to do it. So don't let the computer stuff keep you from getting on the radio and working the DX. We'll if you do that and you want to submit, we will help you submit if you're having issues.
Well, and the other thing is, for members who are here, remember the Go Box is available to be checked out by club members. So if you want to get on the air, throw some, and to be honest, throw a long wire in the backyard. I actually went out and bought a empty paint can from Home Depot, drilled 4 holes in it, put some lock nuts or some nuts with some bolts on the side as my radios, and I put a mag mount 20-meter ham stick on it. And I've made contacts to East Coast and West Coast. So on a good night, you could probably definitely get worldwide potentially over the poles, something like that. So anything's possible.
I heard a young man give a presentation that had a townhouse in I think it was someplace down in Maryland, and he's come up with an attic antenna. I have the presentation. It is phenomenal. He's working DX with an antenna inside his attic in a row townhouse.
Wow. Yeah, we have one gentleman in our club who's got a dipole in his attic. I forget what they're called, but they're terminated at the ends together, and he's making a lot of his DXs that way. It's even been better than his isotronic ones he's got up there. Is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a ranch. So, but yeah, we that's one thing about our club. We try to come up with neat ideas, and unfortunately in Colorado, and probably the same thing potentially in Florida, probably not as much in Florida though, is, we got HOAs out here, and a lot of us live in HOAs, which are restricted and kind of a pain in the behind a little bit sometimes. But, nowadays you can hook it up to your gutter. I've done gutter antennas. Yeah. Actually, I bought the Alpha antenna gutter one, and it's got a screw mount on top. I've got a 213-inch whip that I got from Wolfer Recoils. I put that on top of it. I did a POTA on 20 meters the other day and had 30 contacts.
Yeah.
In like an hour and a half. It was
By
great.
the way, Chuck, it's much worse here in Florida than it is in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's horrible. We had a house about 6 miles north, and we were in an HOA, and nothing there, and we right-sized because we got our place in Colorado now, and HOAs are pervasive down here, and that's why a partner and I went north. My remote station is 80 miles north. We bought an acre and a half of land, literally farmland, in Yeehaw Junction, Florida, and that's where our remote station is. There's absolutely no restrictions at all up there. And we got our tower up there, 100-foot tower with a stacked, Navasa and JK 3040 and 160 and an 80-meter quarter wave vertical. And I mean, SAR listening antenna, and we still got all kinds of space.
Yeah, that's my wife told me when we retire, she wants to get a couple acres of land, about a half acre where I could put my little storage shed with a tower on it, and I'll live out there. She'll live in the main house, and I can just play radio.
I love it.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. Who needs a bathroom?
Yeah, I think Arlene and I could see you doing that, Chuck.
Well, yeah. So, but yeah, and I know Pat's been fortunate enough where he's at. He's got a nice setup, and you've been making any DXs out there, Pat, or had a chance to get on radio since you've been back?
You've been on the radio since we've been back.
Okay.
I've been working. Instead, I've been working on my back, just like you.
Okay. Well, I take a few minutes to get on the air on occasion, so I know I've been doing the FT8 and single sideband is always, DX Heat and some of these websites. You can try to catch some unique things. And the club that I belong to now has a Groups IO forum, so when people hear unique call signs for DXing, they send that to the group and everybody gets emailed. So there's an opportunity there as well. Because sometimes not everything's on some of these websites like DX Heat and things like that. So it's a matter of just going through the band and seeing who's out there and listen and getting on and making that contact, because you never know who you might talk to.
We have a Skype group down here, Chuck. There's about 30 members, but there's really only about a dozen active members, and it is so effective at spotting. I can't tell you how many that I get just because of our collective network. Skype is it's like right online. It's always up,
Yeah, it's a matter of what you can do with a village instead of an individual.
Yep.
All right, good night, Pat. I know Lynn left us as well. Anybody else got any questions before we let Mark go? And because I know it's already 10 o'clock there.
10 o'clock. Yep, almost my bedtime.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, again, thank you, Mark, so much. I'll be dropping you an email because there's another club I'd like you to present to next month.
Absolutely.
I just got to get the date again. This is the club that's really going to be interested in this because it's a DXing club.
Fantastic.
So this is right in their wheelhouse. It's a smaller group that's in the process of rebuilding, but I think this would be a great presentation. I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and a lot of them might already know about it. But hopefully you can rejuvenate them and get them more involved, and people like me who are just getting into it involved as well. Problem with me is, unfortunately, I am the I don't want to say younger. I don't like using age. The least experienced ham a lot of times. And unfortunately, I'm not retired yet, so I can't spend a whole lot of time on the radio, but I try to do what I can. And because I enjoy it. To me, not only do I do it as a hobby, but I'm also part of Aries and things like that. So it's my way of giving back to the community. And that's why I jumped in with this club and jumped in and said, hey, you guys need a president. I'll run. I got some ideas, and so far they've kept me on for 3 years. So I'm either doing something right or nobody else wants the job. I don't know which one. It's for life. Great. Thanks. So,
well, I'll look forward to your email, Chuck. And
okay,
again, thank you all. And I look forward to getting back out to Colorado.
Yeah, come on out when I'll hunt you down when you're out here, and maybe I'll make a run to the ice cream shop and check out your shack.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll be back in touch. I was serious. If I can get a couple hands, I think I figured about 3 people we can do it over the weekend. It's not that big. It's a tilt over tower, and it's Roan 25G. I just need to remove the vertical. I'll have what my idea is. I'll have the hex beam all put together. So it's just a matter of removing the vertical and putting the rotator in and putting the hex beam on and just re-erecting the tower.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Mark, Steve, N0FTI. You have a rough idea of when you're talking about doing that? Sometime this summer. All right.
Probably July or August.
Ping Chuck. There are a lot of us who unfortunately we do a lot of silent key stuff too, but I mean, we like going out and working together, and we work pretty well as a team too of getting stuff done.
Oh man.
And a lot of us are new hams, and we learn so much by being able to do that kind of stuff. So, we're just on the other side of the mountain, so to speak. There's a way to get there. There's a way to get there if you got an or June, but otherwise it's a little longer, but we'll be there.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours or so, and 70. Yeah, I mean, but anyway, I really appreciate, and like I said, I got 4 bedrooms, so whoever comes up can stay with me. You don't have to hotel or anything else, and we'll cook some steaks and just kind of hang out for the weekend. I'll be by myself because my wife is not coming out, so it'll just be me and my little pup. That's it.
You got a place to put a tent up? Because I love putting a tent up, sleeping outside up there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a nice piece of property, so we could certainly do that. I also have an 18-foot camper that I pull behind me, so that would be available if somebody wants to sleep out. I actually pull that to the field day up with the RM Mountain.
Yeah, better be careful. The LARC's going to move up there for the summer. You're going to have a bunch of people staying up there.
I would love that. I can't think of a better thing to have a bunch of hams around.
So, hey, we'll make a weekend of it. We'll definitely get something together and go up there, because right now my June and July is really nothing going on. Well, I might be in San Francisco weekend in July, but other than that, I'm a little bit more open. So yeah, I definitely, let me know. We'll definitely come up there, and I know a lot of us, we could just carpool and jump in a van or something and head up there and spend the weekend.
Fun.
I think it'd be a blast.
Sounds like fun as long as it's on a weekend. So sounds like fun.
Definitely weekend. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Mark, it's been a pleasure, sir.
God bless.
Thank you, Mark.
God bless. Thank you. 73.
73. Thank you all. Bye-bye.